Welcome to the WrestleTalk News. I'm Quinnell. Since Triple H took over control of WWE back in 2022, there was a flurry of re-signings that he made, including people like Karrion Kross, Bronson Reed, Dexter Lumis, Emma, Dakota Kai, Braun Strowman, Hit Row, Mia Yim, Johnny Gargano, Candice LeRae, etc. However, there may be another two names to add to that list, though we haven't seen them on TV yet, despite them reportedly potentially being re-signed since 2022 as well. Akam and Razor, known as the Authors of Pain, or AOP, were released by WWE in September 2020, and went on to try and do a wrestling show in the UK called WES, W-E-S. That didn't quite go as planned though, with talent booked on the show complaining about issues with pay. But according to Fightful Select, sources have told them that AOP had re-signed with WWE as far back as last year, though they haven't managed to confirm that as of yet themselves. Specifically, they were told that it was before Vince McMahon came back, because that put a halt on all signings besides new recruits. They were also reportedly internally listed on a travel list back in May, so there's every chance we could be seeing AOP back again soon. Then again, we could have another Eric Young situation on our hands where they're re-signed, unused, and then leave again, which frankly would be hilarious. Moving over to AEW, we're in the in-between times between All In and All Out, and with Dynamite last night having to both have the come down and reset from All In, and also do the final build for All Out, there were quite a lot of plates to spin. But there's even more plates than we realized, as there's been some details behind the planning for Dynamite and All Out. There's the elephant in the room of CM Punk and Jack Perry's suspensions changing plans for the shows, with Fightful Select revealing that the likely original plan for All Out main event was going to be CM Punk versus Ricky Starks for the Real World Championship. However, we don't know whether that match can now go ahead, with Punk's suspension lingering. Oddly, Tony Khan announced on X after Dynamite that Ricky Starks will be on Collision to challenge Ricky Steamboat to a strap match and All Out, which was not a sentence that I had on my 2023 bingo card. Whether this is the actual match though, or could lead to a Punk interruption, we don't know, as details on Punk's suspension are still hazy. So that's one factor that's changed plans this week. There was also Bray Wyatt's funeral, which was originally planned to take place this week, and as such, Tony Khan had granted time off for anyone on the roster who wished to attend. The funeral was then delayed until next week, but regardless, it seems like some stars were already off. So that's Factor 2. Tony Khan also tweeted before the show that due to minor illnesses among the roster, that's Factor 3, and Hurricane Idalia affecting flights, that's Factor 4, there were going to be some changes to AEW Dynamite. I saw a tweet this morning, and I'm so sorry, I can't remember who posted it and couldn't find it again when I searched for it, but I think it summed this all up pretty well. You can't blame Tony Khan or AEW for the travel issues, the illnesses, the funeral, and the circumstances that led to Dynamite needing to be changed. You can blame them for booking 2 pay-per-views on consecutive weekends, meaning that if there were a disaster week like this one, then the show would be drastically affected, exponentially so. Regardless, I'm still excited for All Out, so at least they pulled that off.
Do you, like most people, think that the WrestleTalk news presenters are the most attractive people on planet Earth? Do you, like some other people, think that the WrestleTalk presenters could be the most attractive people on planet Earth if only they could remove all of their facial features? Well, do we have the shirt for you? It's our brand new WrestleTalk News Presenter Faces shirt, complete with no facial features. Head over to WrestleShop.com using the link in the description below to get yours, and become the world's coolest person with the world's coolest people on your shirt.
I'm Ollie Davis, and now it's time for my review of the post All In, pre All Out, maybe there are too many shows to promote, shake it all about episode of AEW Dynamite in about 5 minutes. The show began with an awesome recap package of Sunday night's All In. I was there, and apparently so were CM Punk and Jack Perry, who were both included in the footage despite their reported suspensions. After Jon Moxley killed Rey Fenix last week in a great match, he tried to murder another luchador on this episode by Wrestling Commander. They worked a big man, small man match, which Mox viciously won, quickly transitioning a pile driver kickout into elbows and a series of submissions. Spoiler for my overall thoughts on this episode. It was both a bad post All In show and a bad All Out Go Home show. There were too many masters to serve, too many shows to run to an increasingly fatigued Chicago crowd who were very bad, and too many backstage controversies clouding Dynamite. However, putting all that to one side, This was an excellent bottle episode focusing on the International Championship, which has become one of the best titles in wrestling. Just like how WWE's presentation of the Bloodline and AEW's own MJF and Adam Cole storyline were elevated by having multiple segments on each episode, the all-out feud of Orange Cassidy versus Mox felt far more significant because it got far more TV time here. There was Mox's opening match, 3 backstage promos, and an awesome main event and post-match angle to make this the bookend focus of the show. I wouldn't mind if it was All Out's main event. Everything else, unfortunately, felt incredibly lackluster considering the All In and Out scheduling. We were shown a clip backstage from All In where the Young Bucks apologized to FTR for not shaking their hands. All In was meant to be their show, they said, and they lost. Enter possibly the most fun heel act right now, Bullet Club Gold, to challenge them to an 8-man tag at All Out. Yay! More Moldy Man matches. This would have been much better if it was FTR versus Bucks versus Jay White and Juice Robinson. I'm sure it will still be a great match, but it feels like card filler. Perhaps the Bucks will definitively turn heel on FTR in the post-match to give it more impact. No, not that one. Toni Storm continued her entertaining new meltdown character following the Outcast split, where she even threw a shoe at Renee Paquette. Who throws a shoe? Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara made up again after Jericho had shoved Guevara following the Ospreay match, and then they argued again, and then they made up again. I've grown really tired of Jericho's back and forth split teases with Guevara and/or Daniel Garcia. Again, hopefully something definitively happens to get these characters out of storyline purgatory next week when the Sex Gods fight FTR for the tag team titles. Don Callis might be involved in that, as he tried to schmooze Sammy later on. An Eddie Kingston singles match. Yay! He defended his New Japan Strong title against Healer Yuta in a very decent bout. Yuta worked over Eddie's injured right arm from Stadium Stampede, but Kingston fought through the pain to use that arm as a weapon and win. Claudio helped Yuta out afterwards, but never looked at Eddie in a show of disrespect. The only MJF appearance was a clip backstage from All In, where he went into full exposition mode, explaining the next 3 weeks of TV. He's going to take this week off, then he'll defend the ROH Tag Team titles with Adam Cole at All Out. Their challenger's going to be decided with a Rampage Battle Royal. And there's also going to be a Grand Slam Eliminator tournament where the winner faces Max at Arthur Ashe. He did almost as much match promoing as Excalibur does before the main events. Adam Cole then cut a live in-ring promo where he was talking about getting another title shot in the future, where he was interrupted by Adam. Jealous ex-boyfriend Roderick Strong. Roddy was excellent here, moaning about how Adam doesn't care about his neck, but he does care about MJF's. And the Kingdom's Mike Bennett and Matt Taven got a chance to shine, with Bennett getting his own storytime speech, putting over their shared history and close personal friendship. I thought for sure this was building to the Kingdom being Cole and Max's all-out tag title contenders, but Rampage spoiler, it's the Dark Order. What the fuck? Roddy then promised to enter the Grand Slam tournament so he can do what Adam couldn't: beat MJF. If Adam enters the tournament too, we could get a Roddy versus Cole match, which has a Wembley Stadium full of storyline potential. Max could watch on as an increasingly more title-obsessed Adam Cole beats up Strong, despite him being a former best friend, and Strong's neck injury, mirroring MJF's own fears of Adam turning on him. It's time for the compulsory quarter past the second hour women's match. We got the randomly assorted babyface team of Chris Statlander, Shida, and Britt Baker versus randomly assorted heel team Nyla Rose, Marina Shafir, and Emi Sakura. Baker and Shida argued after an accidental kick, and Statlander picked up the win in some decent action. Ruby Soho attacked Chris afterwards to build their TBS title match. The women's division is more of an afterthought to Tony Khan than All Out. And that's saying something, because although I love Shane Taylor, him versus Samoa Joe for the ROH TV title at All Out only increases the pay-per-view's B-show feel. At least Kenny Omega versus Takeshita feels genuinely big time. We got Don Callis doing a TED Talk on all of Kenny's injuries, not just playing footage of how they affect him, but showing x-rays of them too. The Acclaimed unveiled one of the better custom belt designs you'll ever see, debuting hot pink straps for the trios belts, with straps that scissor to connect at the back, and the main event saw Orange Cassidy versus Penta for the international title. Initially, I was down on this booking. It's so predictable that Cassidy will retain, given how the press conference announced Cassidy versus Mox are All Out first. Also, there's a real blood feud between Moxley and Penta, given that Moxley sent Penta's brother Phoenix off in an ambulance last week. They could have had a number one contenders match here, where Mox could get a strong win going into All Out. That said, this was an incredible main event. So good, I actually bought into Penta winning the title at the end. Penta catching Cassidy's dive in an overhead press, 3 back-to-back Canadian destroyers, and somehow, the near fall of the week Cassidy kicking out of an arm break and a fear factor to roll up Penta to retain. To close the show, Cassidy then cut a promo sitting on a steel chair in the ring. He's tired. He's beat up. He's been defending this title on an almost weekly basis all year. But that's the magic of AEW. They give people like him, people who told they can't draw money, they're too skinny, they're just a joke act, they don't look the part, a chance to succeed. And in a somehow simultaneously badass, spine-tingling, and humorous last line, referencing Moxley's "Oh no" catchphrase promo from earlier, Cassidy said, "I'm freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy, and I do not have a catchphrase. Put that on a t-shirt, I want to buy it right now." It's been an incredible journey for what I thought in 2020 was a one-note joke character. That Jericho feud where he actually puts in effort will be the end of him, I said. The joke's over then. And I suppose that was right in a way. The joke did lessen, but it left what's at Orange Cassidy's core. What makes him endure and work so well even 4 years into AEW. He is a fantastic wrestler. I can't think of many times where I've wanted a babyface to keep the title after such a long reign, but this Sunday, I'll be rooting for Cassidy to retain. An excellent episode for the International Championship. Unfortunately, AEW needed the big go-home show focus for multiple feuds to capitalize on their all-in momentum, and they really missed it. After the best go-home show they've ever done last week, this week's Dynamite is 73%. But it's payback this weekend, so go watch mine and Luke's 3-count predictions for that WWE pay-per-view now.
There's loads of context right away.
Awesome. Great. Yep.
He
Three words or fewer.
He recently tweeted warning against WWE scams for fans online, and he said, "I cannot remedy your situation and suggest you contact law enforcement."